So, welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. And today's panel is Mic Drop Moments. And we have some great content creators here to kind of walk us through how authors can create really great content. I'll introduce Lisa. Lisa, raise your hand. Oh, you have your name tag on. So, I guess that's what that is in the corner there. If you want to be a speaker, but not sure what to talk about or where to find gigs and how to offer services from the stage, Lisa is your girl. So she's going to drop some links at the end. If you need somebody to help you get booked, she's there. Fran Asaro, Fran, raise your hand here. She is a YouTube mentor and strategist for mature creators. Of course, none of us are mature. We're all children still. She helps entrepreneurs and first-time content creators thrive on YouTube. And so she's going to be talking a little bit about YouTube today. And Tom Hazard is a prolific podcast host and co-host of 5 different shows with hundreds of episodes and interviews. And this must be an old one. He is now the CF. You're not the CTO anymore. Tracy is. What are you, Tom?
I'm CEO, but
CEO. Okay.
That changes periodically between me and Tracy. It's okay.
Of Brandcasters, which is also known as Monetize. So yeah, him and Tracy, they're married and they just switch whoever's on deck today. So welcome everybody. I'm really happy to have you guys here. And so I want to just start with a couple easy questions for you guys. Building your author brand, all of you guys know you have to build that author platform. So let's start with Lisa. Lisa, as a speaking coach, how would you start to do that? What are some brand strategies that really work for people?
Well, I would definitely recommend starting speaking before your book is complete, because you can start to build up your email list, build up your social media content, and build up your connections before you even launch your book. That way you have a really solid foundation when the book actually launches to help your bestseller campaign.
Yes. Tom, how about you? Because I know that I started my podcast before book 6 and 7, and I saw a big difference in audience size from podcasting.
Yes, I agree. People often ask me, what's the best time to start a podcast? And really it was 3 months ago, because similar to what Lisa said, you have an opportunity. I mean, as long as you have something to say, and if you're writing a book, I'm sure you do, and you're an expert in something, you have wisdom to share, whether that's just your own messages to the world or interviewing other experts and, sharing your perspective with them, through them. You have an opportunity to build an audience and a list of people to market your book to far in advance of launching the book. Usually makes your book launch much more successful.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, we're going to shoot one out to Fran here because she's got YouTube is a great place to monetize. So, Fran, how do you monetize your content over on YouTube? I know we've had these rules that are ever changing, but they've made it a lot easier, haven't they?
Yes. And I recommend to anybody, if you're thinking you have to become a YouTube partner in order to make money, that's not the truth anymore. Now there's so many ways to monetize your channel. So you could be starting memberships. You could have print on demand products. You could sell your courses. You could have lives where people actually pay you like they do on TikTok, where they thank you and tip you. I'm helping people become Amazon influencers, so they have something to share on their YouTube channel and have their print on demand there as well. You no longer have to have a certain amount of subscribers in order to have a print on demand store on YouTube. You could start now, and then when you do have enough subscribers, it just transitions over when you're ready. So you could start it now, share with links, and when you do have enough subscribers, then you just switch it over. Now you'll have a tab. And then you'll have your products show up during your videos. But at this time, you could start with something that segues right over with one of their programs. Many other products.
Sorry, could you clarify what print on demand means on YouTube? Because print on demand means something in publishing. I just want to make sure are they the same thing or are they not?
It's merch, putting out merchandise, anything from t-shirts and totes. And just imagine that you say the same thing on all your podcasts, or you have your favorite saying, motivational or funny, or, some people are a little risque. They put their stuff and people will buy them. They want something that represents you. So you can do that plus your own sayings. and you just put it out there on many different products and talk about it. Wear your products, wear your hats, or whatever it is you need to do. I didn't wear my t-shirt today, but yeah, I have a Senior Tuber t-shirt, right? So that's there's so many different platforms for doing that, but I'd recommend that you use Amazon's print on demand, and you use Spreadshirt or something like that on YouTube, so that you can segue over to their program once you have enough subscribers.
Yes, absolutely. So, Lisa, talk a little bit about monetizing with speaking too, because it's not just about your book. You can sell programs and things like that from the stage as well.
Right. I think one of the biggest challenges in the speaking world, especially for newer speakers, is thinking that they want to be paid keynote speakers, but it's really hard to do that if you don't have any experience, or maybe don't have a proven method, proven model, or maybe your audience isn't even in those types of audiences. So it's about like figuring out what's your offer, like do you have a services or products, things like that. And then who's your audience? Who are your best clients? What rooms are they in? Because there's associations, chambers, there's local groups, there's national, international, there's all different kinds, virtual. I call it virtual geography. Like there's virtual geography where I have access to all that. And then when you have the right message, which I call you have your talk ready to rock. I help people get their talk ready to rock. When you have your right message tied to the right offer that's going to bring in business for you, that you're in love with, that you're comfortable with, and you're speaking to the right people, well, then all of a sudden your ability to have what I call speaking sales potential rises really quickly. You could, like if you have a product, I'll even do a quick math example. If you have $1,000 product or service, just say, and you speak 24 times a year, which is a really healthy nutrition diet for speakers, like very easy, especially virtual, you just pop right on. And you even got one sale or one client from each of those talks, you've added another revenue stream to your business of $24,000. I'm not even talking about, I mean, this isn't a guarantee. I'm just saying, like, this is an example. Like you can start plug your own numbers in. And then you can start thinking, okay, well, if I spoke, what if my product was $2,000, and all of a sudden you spoke the same amount of time, but you've just doubled your revenue, and we're not even talking about repeat sales. We're just talking about that one sale. So I'm just saying, like, oh my gosh, like you can expand it so quickly without having to do a whole bunch more work. So if you're not adding that into your business model, and you think, oh, I really enjoy that, that'd be really fun, then I think it's definitely worth it. And you can monetize it right away. You don't have to have a huge stage. You don't have to have a ton of experience. You just need to have that right talk, the right audience with the right offer, and you can make money day one.
That is so amazing. I was just sitting here thinking, every time I've gone speaking, I do make much more money, a lot more money when I sell something versus a keynote. A lot of times they keep you from, you're getting paid to do it, so they won't allow you to sell from the stage. So yes, very, very, very easy to do. Tom, what about monetizing podcasts? I think it's sort of hard until you get an audience, isn't it?
Certainly. I mean, you have to have an audience to speak to, but that can happen quite quickly. And the great thing is you've got to start building that audience at some point. So that's why the sooner you launch that podcast and start building that audience, the better. And then similar to, speaking at in-person events, your podcast episodes, it's yours. It's your content. You can have audio, ads, promotions, calls to action for your book, for your speaking events coming up, for, anything else you do in business, whatever your lead magnets are, and you can advertise those, have those as little separate audio ads within your episodes that can be changed at any time. So let's say, hey, you're going to be speaking at an event next month. Put a couple audio promotions in all your episodes, raising awareness of that. The day the episode happens, push a button, all those ads come out of your episodes without anybody having to re-edit anything. That's done with the software that distributes the podcasts. And they're all of a sudden updated with whatever the next thing is that you want to be promoting. So yes, you do have to build an audience, but you also, for every episode you publish, have an awful lot of content to now promote on social media. And, if you have a newsletter or any other, way that you're reaching people, you're serving them, providing them value through the podcast. And then as you're providing that value, you raise awareness of the things that you have to offer them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because that's what I do most of the time is I run ads on our own products and services. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so on the scale of idea to bestseller, do you guys actually use your content platforms to build validation for your upcoming books and products and services? Because I feel like that's the kind of the purpose of content is not only that repurposing and attracting people, but being able to get out there and validate your idea. Have you guys done that in any way? Fran, do you want to start with us? We'll start with you.
Well, I don't have a book, but for my clients, I'm helping them create engagement. Right now, this is the time when subscriber amount does not matter. Engagement matters. So I teach them how to keep your people on your channel. And then they have fans once they do that. So what is it that your people are asking for? You provide that and you keep it. And that's one of my new products that I'm coming out with is how to keep one topic so that people can binge watch on your channel instead of searching for a topic and then they go to several channels. And so that's the thing, is to create engagements and create fans.
Yeah. So if someone had a book, would it be maybe a good idea for them to read excerpts of their book on there? Because I know you and I discussed it and it was much harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
would you suggest that if you were an author?
I still think that's great, but then I think that you get out there live and answer people's questions, or you see what people are asking in the comments and then you address those comments, and you create more than one video about that topic so that they have a few things to watch. And that there are so many ways to multi-purpose one video. And that's the whole thing, is I'm trying to get people to multi-use their videos, maybe make a couple to go with the same topic. But yes, I think if they start out with reading a chapter and then they talk about that a little further about, breaking it down to the minutia, and then they start asking questions and make several videos on that one chapter, they can really make that work and have people stay on, which watch time hours are very important with YouTube, right? So if you keep them on, instead of them going somewhere else to find the content and the answers, it's better for you.
Yeah, I would think that. Tom, what about you and Tracy? That was kind of what happened with your WT. I don't know how many F's are at the end of that podcast. Was you guys got it out there and then found that your audience was bigger than you thought it would be? Was that the path you guys were on?
It was. And, that was more than a decade ago. As we were learning about podcasting for the first time, we grew a very large audience within 6 months of 100,000 regular listeners. And we're written up in Forbes as one of the fastest growing podcasts. I want to, though, make sure that I address this same question, because there's a really good point here, is that when you have a podcast, you not only, yes, you have to build an audience, but you have a means to raise awareness of your podcast. And actually, there are advertising mechanisms that are very inexpensive to grow your audience and grow your list, not just for your show, but for your book. But most importantly, though, the book, we have many podcasters that use their podcast as a test ground for their book. Each episode, you can have episodes that are based on topics you might make a chapter of your book out of. And you publish a series of episodes and you learn which topics resonate with the listeners and might be some of the better subjects to create a chapter in your book around. And then we have some podcasters that that are podcasting regularly and have been doing it for years, a weekly show, usually every other week if they can't do that many, but they'll take 10 to 12 of their podcast episodes, the best ones from the previous year, the ones that were the most popular, and then use those as chapters and put out a new book every year. And they've spoken their way to it. Those podcasts are transcribed and edited differently to be a book rather than a podcast episode, or a book chapter rather than a podcast episode. So, your question about can you use it as like a proving ground, 100% you can.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tracy and I ran a pod to publishing program a couple of years ago, and it was take your best 10 episodes that are related and put that together. And don't you have a podcaster that does that every year? I think one that writes a book every year from
every year. His name's John Livesey, and he has a podcast called The Successful Pitch. He's a sales expert and actually is also a paid speaker. He uses his podcast to get more authority and credibility and helps him get booked and is a paid speaker going around the world speaking. So yes, he does use the podcast and generates a new book every year. He had Tracy write, I guess, the forward for one of them a few years back. And but absolutely. And then, other podcasters that have a book and use the podcast to promote the book, have a landing page that features the podcast and the book on their website. So many ways that you can use podcasting as an author to raise awareness, build a list, and, sell more books and whatever else you have to sell as well.
Yeah. Lisa, I would imagine in real time, you're going to find out very quickly if people like your ideas.
You find out pretty quickly. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Glenda, who's here. She's an author. Sandy Olson, Candy's here, Lisette. So if I missed anybody, I'm just like, yes, I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for being here today. I think it's really important. I always say, like, all roads lead to Rome when you're an entrepreneur. So everything that you do, whether it's podcast, a book, a topic, a speech, a blog article, all the things you want to have that lead to Rome as much as possible so that people have different ways to get into your orbit or your YouTube channel, for example. Like, what's the line, the thread that goes through everything that can really help people get to know you? Some people like to read, some people like to listen, some people like to watch, some people want it in person, some people want virtual. So there's all different ways that people are going to want to get to know you, learn from you, see if your style is matching. Are you a fit? Is it helpful? Is it helping them move the needle? And so I like to repurpose whenever I can. So I love the topic of repurposing because you're only one person, right? And when I wrote my book, AI wasn't an option to do anymore. So all the writing, all my blogs, that's me. I wrote those. And your knowledge is so, so important. Might as well capture it, right? You don't want to be what I call a brilliance hoarder. Like, if you have brilliance that you've got, you want to get that out there, whether it's in a book, in a podcast, in a talk, on your YouTube channel, like on social media, like, let people know that brilliance, that they can get more of it when they work with you or when they take your program or service or buy your products. That's really, really important. And it helps your credibility too.
Yeah, it does. We will get to repurposing in a moment, but I want to go first. It's okay. I want to go first to authenticity versus the algorithm, because, for all of us who are experts in something, there are a lot of experts who do exactly the same thing we do, but it's our authenticity that inspires people to hire us. Can I get along with this person? Are they a good fit? If I'm an action person, am I getting an action person? If I'm a little slower, taking things, can I get someone who'll work a little slower? Can you talk to that a little bit, Fran? How do you see that in the video world?
Yeah, it's definitely predominant. It used to be the showier you were and the more editing you did was very popular. And now it's more having unedited content with you just being you. They say leave your camera on all day and then edit out what you don't want. People want to know you before they will do business with you. It's the old saying, but now it's for real. They want to know what you do during the day. They want to know who you buy from, and they could buy your products because they really care about you. So that's how you get true fans, by being as authentic as possible. And here's the thing. If you don't put your videos up until they're completely optimized, then YouTube is going to get the best part of your video within the first 24 to 48 hours. They're going to see that people are engaged by having a topic that people are looking for and that you're being authentic, and they're going to promote your video. So you want to make sure you put your videos out there right after. You don't make them public and then be working on it. Make them public after you're done optimizing, then let it go out and then let YouTube promote you. That's how the algorithms are going now.
I love that too. Somebody brought up the Jeff Walker. I know a lot of you have been in the business for a while. Remember back the Jeff Walker launch strategy where you spent all this money on these very scripted professional videos, and it just kind of went by the wayside eventually because, number one, too much money, but number two, when you're sitting there really scripted, you're stiff. It doesn't matter. It's very hard to read. Tom, what about you with the authenticity and the algorithms on, like, say, iTunes or the podcast distribution channels?
So it's a little different in podcasting. And one app that everybody will use to access podcasts, there's 24 really good ones and probably another couple dozen hardly known ones. And people will listen to podcasts where they want to on the app that they want to use. Now, there are some algorithms on Apple and Spotify that do feature in their categories shows that are more popular. And certainly there are algorithms that play into that. Those positions can also be bought. But the best thing about podcasting is people are choosing to opt in to listen to you. And it is the authenticity that you bring to it, your expertise, your knowledge, your message to the world, your unique perspective on your area of expertise, and how you deliver your message. And yes, authenticity, the more real you are with them, the better. Now, we do recommend podcasts are professionally edited. That doesn't mean it's like an editorial editing like you would edit a book. It's just not putting it out so raw that everything, every and on awkward pause is there too. In an audio format, that doesn't play as well. And the other thing I want to share is that about 3/4 of new podcasters are launching their show as video these days. That didn't used to be the case. 10 years ago, it was probably 20% of podcasters also put it out as video. Most of the reason people are doing video is because video is the currency on social media. And then you got all these little clips that you can share that do get attention on social media. But you want to be driving people back to your own website. And here's the authenticity. Makes your listeners not only want to subscribe to your show to keep hearing more, they want to get more from you. You're in their ears every week because they subscribe to keep getting your next one. And when you're in their ears, they learn to like you and trust you, and they are much more likely to convert to be a customer when you offer them something that's in alignment with why they're listening to you in the first place. You have a lot of power. And often when Tracy goes to a speaking event, people come up to her at the end. And it's really, if you're a new podcaster, it's kind of off-putting how casual they are with you, how informal, because they think they know you. They've been listening to you for months and months. Now, you've never met this person, but they know you. But you realize these aren't stalkers. They're actually raving fans, and they're interested in what you have to share with them. So that's just why I'm just trying to explain that they're much more likely to convert to any offer you make them, at least to trade their name and email to learn more and join your list, and also to buy directly. So anyway, that's there are some similarities with YouTube to some things Fran was saying, but there's also some significant differences, I think, in a very good way.
Yeah. And I will say I'm an avid podcast listener when I'm sitting here during the day and I don't have an appointment. And I actually do buy merch off some of them. So it does happen. I'll buy cups or, something that they're pushing, a supplement that I probably don't need. But, you do. It's kind of an impulse buy. But it's not an impulse buy in the sense that you just see it. It's just that I've heard these guys say it over and over and over. And now it's time to buy something. Lisa, what about with you?
Well, I'll go from the speaking route, obviously. When it comes to authenticity, one of the dangerous questions I hear a newer speaker ask is, what do people want to hear? Like, what's going on in the marketplace? And I'm like, okay, whoa, we're starting at the wrong point. Because when you're speaking, I think it's like, what do you individually, what's in your soul that needs to come out that would be helpful for people, that would be the solution? Like let's say you're a life coach and you went through certain certification and, thousands of other people did the same certification. What makes you different? What's your perspective that's different? What are the people that you're helping and supporting? What do they want to hear and what are they benefiting from? And so that's, to me, the authenticity versus just talking about like kind of the same old boring thing that everybody else talks about. I'm like, no, we got to find your inner unicorn. What's that magical thing that you have inside of you? And that is what is going to attract the people, the very ideal people that are picking up what you're throwing down and want to, go on a journey with you versus just the plain old vanilla, like nothing wrong with vanilla ice cream, but like plain old vanilla, that's probably not what they're looking for. They're looking for someone who really sees them, gets them, and that authenticity then can come through on the stage, whether it's virtual or in person. The other thing that never gets old is just you've heard this before, but people want to be what? They want to be seen, heard, understood. That has not gone out of style. Like, same. Humans are humans are humans. And they just want to be seen, heard, and understood. And they want to know, like, oh, this person can actually help me. Like, I think they're real. I had somebody email me and ask me if I was real, we'd met on Zoom, and he said, "Are you real, or is this like AI?" And I'm like, I'm a real girl, like Pinocchio, like I'm a real girl. I'm real. And so there are some, people are getting a little red flaggy about, like, okay, is this legit? Is this person like really going to look at my stuff and understand me? And I think that's really important. When it comes to algorithms, and I mean, that's part of our world as well, right? It's like, we can't ignore that we've got this amazing technology at our fingertips. For me, I'm not an algorithm expert by any means. I know Tom and Fran are probably way more advanced in that. What I can say, and this is the unsexy side of entrepreneurialism, is consistency is your best friend all day long. Like, I have people come to me because I constantly post on all my channels. We've got a system set up where it's all there. It's consistently putting out content that I feel excited about, that I want to promote, and I think it's going to be helpful for people. And one day, just like Juliet, you're like, one day that vitamin, is calling my name. I got to get it today. And it's that same thing. I've had people that I've known for years. I just had a gentleman who I ran into. I've known him for 22 years. And he said, "Hey, I think I need what you have." So he's been like watching behind the scenes. So that's what I would have to say about it.
It's sort of a human algorithm too, because we definitely follow along with that. Okay, speaking of AI, AI is here. And it's so funny you said that, because there are so many things that we can do with AI now, including repurposing our stuff, which we can kind of morph this with AI and repurposing. So I'll let Tom take this one first, because I actually use Tom's product and I repurpose the heck out of what we do with that content.
So very true. And I want to thank Lisa for talking about consistency, because it is key. I'm sure Fran will agree. Consistency and constancy is key. The wonderful thing about a podcast is you can record your episode, even using a tool like Zoom that we today, although there are other ways. There's not only one way to do it. And I'm not saying Zoom's the best, although I use it for my podcasts. You can do one thing. Record either a solo episode, just a solo cast, bringing your message to the world on a specific niche topic in your area of expertise, or interview other people, or just have a discussion with someone else about a topic. Doesn't have to be an interview, and do a combination of those things as well. And by doing that one recording, what we do in podcasting for our done for you customers, and you can also do DIY if you have the time to do all this yourself. But from one recording, it goes and becomes a, polished video put out on YouTube, a podcast put out to all the listening apps. You have, half a dozen little video clips to share on social. You have other unique graphics, quote graphics, things you said, things the guest said, things you said about the guest that make them look really good. And that incentivizes them to share it on social. And guess what? When they do that, they're sharing your show, because that graphic will have your show identity on it. So you can do one thing. Also, by the way, you get a blog post created out of that from the episode, goes on your website. So we call it multicasting your content. Do one thing. And it goes everywhere. Now, there's AI involved in that. And as much as you want it to be, it doesn't have to have AI involved in that. But I want to take this opportunity to say what's coming very soon. My partner Tracy has done it. We're doing one for Juliet right now. When you have content like this, and whether it could be a series of videos you already have, if you have a podcast already, those episodes are the ideal content. It can be a series of blogs you have, and it can be a combination of all the above as well. That information can feed your own AI chatbot that goes on your website, so that when you're not available, people can go and ask questions of you. And it's you. It looks like you. And in fact, ask questions, and it uses your content to create the responses, and there are constraints put on it. So it's only using your content. It's not going to go give answers based on other people's content or other information out on the internet. We're talking about your own resources to answer your question. So I'll put a link in here later to Tracy's website where we have hers that's being tested before we put it on our main website, so you can check it out. But not only can you type in answers, button, and you can speak your question. You can type questions, speak them, and you can either just read the results or you can push a button and Tracy speaks the answer to you. And Tracy's voice has been cloned from all of her podcast episodes. And so you can serve your community 24 hours a day. And the answers, and ours is obviously related to podcasting. The information you get back when you ask a question is wildly accurate. And so this is the new frontier for any entrepreneur that has content that can be used to feed AI. And I'm not talking about feeding the general knowledge of AI universe for other people to benefit from. I'm talking selfishly for each of you to benefit from for yourselves to help serve your community. I'm creating a sales AI chatbot built from all of my sales calls for the last, 6-7 years. So anyway, podcast content is ideal for feeding your own AI. Sure, there's AI that it goes into a lot of aspects of production, and that is, emerging and coming and getting more popular. But directly to all of your benefit, you have huge opportunity to use the content you generate. But you've got to be willing to record the content and do it on a regular basis because that new content keeps feeding it.
Yes, yes.
So I'm sorry that's a long answer, but it's a really great question, and it's a new thing that's very exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting. And we're actually using it for courses. We're using it for everything. Fran, before I get to you on this, I want to mention too, we take the podcast that Tom's company produces for us. We get that blog, we get the video, we get the audio. We literally repurpose that into magazine articles, shorts. I can't even tell you how much we repurpose not because I'm lazy, but because I just want to have I want to have a lot of content out there for people to see, because that truly is our trust builder. When people see what we're doing, that's when they start coming and hiring us, is because they see that we're action people, we're no nonsense, and we have a little bit different knowledge base than a lot of the other publishers. So think about all the ways that you can republish it. We'll take an article from a blog and submit it to a magazine and get into other magazines for our own magazines. So there's a lot you can do with that. Fran, as a YouTuber, you're probably doing shorts all day long, aren't you?
Not shorts all day long, but yes, that's one of the things. But before I go any further, I just have to let you know that I spent more than 11 minutes on Tracy's avatar. Okay, her. What do they call it, Tom? What do they call her?
The AI chatbot.
Okay, so I spent 11 minutes going back and forth conversing, and it was fabulous, right? I never felt like I wasn't getting appropriate answers. It was beautiful. So I recommend everybody go and have a conversation. It was wonderful. So AI is coming into my world for many different reasons. And one of them, yes, if I wanted to mass produce, right? It's a wonderful thing if you use programs that will just help you mass produce. But I'm also here to help my audience, my clients who are dropping by the wayside. So YouTube changes a lot and people just can't keep up with it. And so they end up stopping their production because they just don't know what to do with it anymore. So one of the things is I have a membership where people can join and we stay on top of what's new. But I was noticing that people will say, I can't make a video every day. I taught them how to batch record, but that still it's not enough. So now, very similar to what you're talking about multipurposing, if you ever think about when you were a kid, maybe even now, your mother would make a chicken and then she would take the chicken and make chicken soup and then chicken salad, and she would make chicken pot pie and she would make chicken, all these different things. And so she knew how to stretch a chicken. And that's what this is all about, stretching whatever you do have. So what I'm helping people do is create capsules of their products, of their videos, so that the things like the blogs, but not just the blogs. You were saying that you use it for your merchandise. You use it for every different thing. So I'm helping people build a capsule that will keep people engaged in that one capsule for a while. And not only then, but you could actually create that capsule that could be seasonal. So you could put it on a shelf and bring it back down during a different holiday or different time of the year when it's more pertinent. So that's one of the things that I'm doing, but I'm also bringing in AI for digital twins. So imagine I work with seniors. Okay. So not everybody likes AI. So I do both, whether you just want the capsules or if you want the AI, this is what happens. For me, if I haven't dyed my hair, I don't make a video, or I might, but I don't love it, or I don't feel like putting on makeup, or I don't like the way I look, or I have no time. With the digital twin, you get to create it, a bunch of them before you are ready. And then you can put out your scripts and the digital twin, and you can make a video in minutes. And you can make several. Some people are putting out 10 videos a day just on this information alone. So I'm sending something to a client about this. I send him my digital twin video talking to him about his digital twin, and I never had to get on the video and didn't make any mistakes. I didn't have to worry about editing. I didn't have to worry about a lot of things. It was done in minutes, and it looks great. And it's just a little bit of a learning curve. But I talk to people about it. Know your audience if they're receptive to avatars. A lot of people don't like AI, but it's what's going on. So you might want to learn to overcome a little bit of it, because if it helps you make videos for the rest of your life and you only had to create a few avatars in the meantime, and you're ready to do it on the fly, it might be worth it. So that's what I'm doing. And so it will involve shorts, like you said, but it'll also involve long form videos. So if you have a course is great, but what if you just have a lot? I have a lot in me. I have all these to-dos and these Q&As, and I want to be able to teach what I know and just leave it there so I don't have to keep teaching it. Create all these different playlists where people can go and get my content for free so I can go do other things that I want to do. So if you're interested in that, it does give you an opportunity to make money from doing that kind of work as well.
Yes. And you know what, Candy, thank you for the question. I was just going to go back and talk about that a little bit after Lisa goes here, because I want to share some tools, and I'm sure these guys want to as well. Lisa, what about you repurposing?
In terms of repurposing, I had already mentioned it a little bit, but I'll back up. When you create your talk, you can repurpose that into podcast episodes, into blogs, into networking conversations, into a 1 minute, a 5 minute, 10 minute, a 20, like all the different versions of what you might be asked to speak on wherever you are. So what we do is you can chunk it down. Like, for example, if you have a half-hour talk, you might have 3 main points. Each of those points might be 6 or 7 minutes. So that could be like a smaller talk, or it could be, you could reverse engineer your talk and create questions out of it so that when you're on a podcast, they're asking you about the thing that you talk. Now, to be clear, when you're on the podcast, you're not just sitting there talking nonstop, giving a presentation. You're creating it in a conversational way. But what's really nice, especially if you're a little nervous speaking, you can go on, once you have your talk created, you can be a guest on podcasts that have audiences that would be interested in your content. And you get used to saying the information in different ways and conversational. I'm not really a script kind of I don't recommend memorizing your talk. I recommend you embodying your talk, where it's like, oh, it's in my body now. Okay, cool. I could, like, the house could catch on fire and I could still give my talk. Like, the electricity could go out. I could still do it. I could be at a barbecue and just casually mention something if it comes up normally and in authentic conversation. So that's my goal, is that everybody can really take what they have. I call it the grocery store test. If somebody was standing next to you at the grocery store and you get to chat, and maybe it's a really long line, and they ask you about what you do, and they're like, oh, I want to know more about that. Can you tell me? I want you to be able to just instantly give them the highlights of what it is that you do, what you speak about. So in terms of repurposing, also, you can take whatever your products or services are and put that into a book, right? You can high level it. Like, if you have, like, I have a framework, so it's like 7 steps, and I have an online curriculum. It's 7 modules. Well, guess what? In my book, it covers all 7 of those things. And that's what I used to create the book. And then now it's obviously not as detailed as what they would get on the online course, but I didn't have to come up with 7 new things or all these different things. I'm like, oh, so if you're sitting on a framework and you don't have a book yet, then, well, knock, 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 like that. This is this is your opportunity knocking to go put that in. And it's a lot easier when you're like, oh, well, I've already done a lot of stuff. I don't have to start from scratch. I'm not starting from ground zero. You already know that stuff. So I'm a huge fan of repurposing, even before AI was in the plan. I know we've talked a little bit about AI as well, and sometimes I will get people. I'll have a session online with them called "Get Your Talk Ready to Rock," and they'll be like, "Oh, they'll send me like 8 pages of content." I'm like, "Oh, is this your Chat GPT talk? Because that's not what we're going to be doing." And I mean, I'll say like, "Oh, we'll put that in the parking lot." But what I'm really interested in is like, what's in your soul? Can Chat GPT tell us what's in your soul? If not, we're going to like dig in there, right? We're going to dig in there, and maybe one day it'll be able to tell what's in your soul. But I really want to get the essence of the person. Then we can use ChatGPT to like, put the little toppings on top and, the frosting on the cake and make it like really like, or if we're struggling, how can we rephrase this title? That's what I would use ChatGPT for versus starting from there to create a talk. Cause then it just isn't, I guess we're going back to that authenticity thing. It sounds perfect, but you're like, something's off a little bit. And you want to really get it, your stuff first and then help you accentuate it.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, I wrote the Author Success Handbook from a course that I did as well on there. So tools, really quickly, I want to go through tools with you guys because I want to get to the Q&A before we go. For me, my tools that I use are Cast Magic. You can set up your own pipeline. I believe it's castmagic.io. You can actually take a video and ask it to titles, the marks, the timestamp marks. It writes my email for the episode. It writes my social media post. So you can actually program a pipeline, and it's very easy to do of what you want. And then Opus, I use for the clips. And something about Opus, every time that I'm a podcast guest, the first thing I ask my host is, may I use the video from this and repurpose it into shorts? Never had someone say no. So now I'm creating more promo, and I get asked to speak all the time because people love that when you're out promoting their stuff. And Go High Level has some great new bots and things in there that are AI driven. It'll write copy, it'll fix your funnel. So I use that a lot as well. Fran, what about you? What are your maybe top 2 tools?
Well, right now I've been using Hey Jen for the avatar. It's wonderful because it not only has hundreds of avatars that are already made for you, but you could create one. You could actually talk into text and tell them what you want them to create. And then you could also create one of your own, just you. And then you could give 300 different versions of you as your own avatar. They call it a digital twin. I went on there for regular generic avatars, and I wasn't expecting to find that I could have myself out there. And that's what really changed my world. So I want everybody to know just to go look at it, see if it's right for you. I'm sure there's many other products out there, but I actually went to ChatGPT, found out everything that was available, knew what I was looking for, and that's what it was the perfect fit for me. And it's like $29 a month or $200 a year, but it was really worth it.
Tom, what about you?
We're using AI in many different ways, and it's not just we use some of the same tools, Opus, for instance, for clips, but we're also building AI into our podcast hosting platform to make it easier for podcasters to do things right there for just uploading their audio recording or the video recording and then generating all this stuff from it right there. We use Gemini, the Google AI product, Find It, to actually be much better for many things. In terms of the AI chatbots, initially we're using a company called Delphi, but we're also creating our own version because theirs has some limitations but still using Tracy's, and you check it out. And I'm going to share here in the chat a link to hers and a link to a couple other things here for everybody. So, I mean, we're huge into AI. Actually, I've been using AI since 2018 for a lot of aspects of the podcast service we provide, but now just incorporating it into our platform. And I saw a question here. Sandy Olson talking about the avatars and bots are fun, but don't you think people want to connect in a real, more personal way? So certainly they do. And we talked about the authenticity. And I believe the authenticity of podcasting and recording your own recordings, and not, we're not fans of um, using AI to generate your podcast audio, because that is possible, but it's a lot less authentic. The AI chatbot, then check out Tracy's and ask it questions about podcasting, because that's sort of the silo of information there that it's really meant to serve people with for that particular one. The idea is, when you're not available, somebody can't get their schedule and your schedule don't match up to have a meeting for a week or two. They can get some immediate answers now, and that can actually make them more interested to meet with you and have a one-on-one conversation. And then right next to that chatbot, you can have a booking calendar link right there if that's what you want to do. But in our business, I mean, we're serving hundreds and hundreds of podcasters every day. And we can't personally be there to answer all those questions. People can book a call if they, for certain things, but it can take time for that to happen. So it's not an either or. It's really about, how do we, again, multi-purpose our content and ourselves to be able to serve more people and achieve more. And that's where these AI chatbots, I think, are going to be instrumental for those that have enough content to feed it, which is the big F. You've got to, it all comes back to, for you to generate, I would argue, speaking your way to it is very easy.
Okay, great. Lisa, how about you? What tools are you using?
I will go a different direction, since we've been talking about AI, and obviously we all have assumptions about what AI is, and there's so many tools. But I think one of the unsung heroes is automating those tasks behind the scenes, right? And so Zapier, for example, and I don't have an affiliation with Zapier, but you can get X amount of zaps for free. If this is where, like, say you always are sending an email, or you're doing data entry, or you need something in an Excel form, like it's those behind the scenes admin tasks that you can set up. So it automatically does that. Like, we use that on our Facebook group, which, if you have Facebook or any social media and you're not capturing the information from that platform, you are what's called as a renter, right? You want to own it, then that means you need to get that information off of that platform and into your own, like we use MailerLite or MailChimp or High Level, whatever your system is where you're emailing people. So Zapier can help you do that. There's different things. You can have bots that help you with those kind of things, but that's really my favorite thing. Like, the more little menial tasks I can take off my plate, the better, because I think, like, I am not put on this earth to just be on my computer all day. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to inspire, speak, facilitate, train, coach, mentor. Those are the things I'm here to do, not the little menial tasks. So if you can start to notice what tasks that you are doing, and then can you shortcut that? You can just Google it, like, hey, I'm always entering this into that. Can I, what's a way? And Zapier will probably come up as one of your things. And I use, for my videos, and there's all different kinds, I use Video Tap. Yeah. And I'm not affiliated with them either, so it doesn't matter to me what you use. But you can do a video, and then you can either do like a minute video, and it'll do the transcription for you, and it'll format it for the different LinkedIn or Facebook. Doesn't really work with Instagram. So again, you have to kind of like know which ones are you going to use and why, and how do they make your life easier. But that way you can repurpose your video really quickly. That's one of the things that I use. And I'm going to put a couple things, not those links, but I'll put in the chat a couple different links depending on what you find useful. There's some tips to get more speaking gigs now if you want. That's all free. If you want to visit our International Speaker Network, that's free ticket to that. Or if you want to have a conversation with me, there's a link for that. So just pick and choose. You can have all three, whatever you want. Whatever floats your boat.
That's cool. And along that lines of streamlining, we have an episode coming up with Steve and Susie Kirsch from Profit Minds AI. They have an amazing program that takes your input from what your job title is and what you do every day, and literally gives you a 64-point list of what you should be doing every month in your business. And when you click on the task, it'll tell you how to do the task to streamline, like step by step. It's pretty amazing stuff because when he showed me, he literally took 6 hours out of my month. That's almost a whole day out of my month of tasks that we do around here. So be sure and listen to that episode because there are a lot of interesting things they're doing. Well, I was hoping we maybe have time for 1 or 2 questions if you guys have one. What do we use to schedule posts to different? I use Go High Level. Stacy, what do you use, Fran?
I'm not using anything to multipurpose. The one I just used for years is now defunct, so I'm looking for a new one.
Oh, okay. Go High Level. Tom,
Yep.
what do you guys use?
We use Meet Edgar, but there are lots of good ones. There's, if for some reason you don't like Meet Edgar, there's Buffer and, similar things like that. I think really they all do pretty much the same thing. It's more of a personal preference. And depending on how much you're doing with it, how many social platforms you're posting on, whether you have assistants and people, sharing, repeat the name for that, Meet Edgar. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Juliet. But, if you just Google social sharing tools, there are lots of them out there.
There are a ton of them out there. I like Go High Level. We actually do Go High Level trainings for authors once a month with Rebecca Bertoldi because it's an all-in-one. My email's there, my websites are there, my landing link. It's nice to have it in one spot. Lisa, what do you use?
We use Social Boo, BU, like B. I put it in the chat. And that's a really low cost one. It's a scheduler. It works with everything. Pretty easy peasy, lemon squeezy. The other thing I'll say, I'll drop in here again. I'm going to go out of left field here. If you've ever heard of Groupon, there's a Groupon for all these things, and it's called App Sumo. I won't put that in the chat. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I need a video editor thing, like whatever tool you are looking for that would be really helpful, go to App Sumo, subscribe, and you'll get the latest things. But you can search in there and say, like, do they have any deals right now? Here's one of my favorite things is when you get the lifetime thing, you're like, yes. Oh my gosh, I pay $89 for life and that's it. And I have it forever. Those are my favorite things so that you don't end up being like what I call subscription poor and just like subscribing to all these things. Yes. That can really help. And so you can kind of pick and choose. There's so many different companies out there and some are smaller companies. They're not going to come up on the Google search, right? They don't have the marketing dollars yet, but they have a product that's really good. So that's my recommendation.
Yeah, and that's a great recommendation. Cast Magic is one of those that you can get into subscription porn. I went over to AppSumo and it's $168 a year and I'm guaranteed that price for life. And with everything it does, it paid for itself easily within 2-3 months with all the repurposing it did for me. So thank you guys, everybody. Thank you to Fran and Tom and Sandy and everybody who showed up. And really happy to have you guys here today. And check out all of our events. We have monthly events the first Friday of every month. And as I say that, first Friday of next month is on a holiday. So our event will be on the 11th. And if you're interested in the Go High Level trainings and you want an invite to those, shoot me an email at juliet@superbrandpublishing.com. And we'll get you in the system and send out invites to those events too. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.